right, good morning to you guys. It's Sunday, August the 13th. It is about 7 o'clock in the morning, actually 7:11. Um, just got back off a mountain bike ride around the neighborhood. That was pretty awesome. So hopefully some of you are finding ways to get up and burn some calories today too. Might have to do it after church for those of you religious folks, but hopefully you can again burn off some of those calories and get some activity moving in those muscles. All right, so we are catching back up where we left off last week. Currently, we are at 69.3, Dix Creek Gap, top of Georgia Hostel. One thing I wanted to clean up last week about the top of Georgia Hostel, I forgot, man. Somebody corrected me that they do have little cabins that you can rent too. So I didn't go in them. I remember there were two ladies there when I got there who were staying in them, and they were leaving as I was coming in. They weren't hikers; they were just somebody visiting. So they liked them, said they were pretty nice. So something to check out if you want some more privacy, or you have a couple of people and you just want to kind of get away from the bunkhouse atmosphere, or if you just want to go up and hike parts of the trail and come back there as a family or whatnot. Possibly a good place to stay. So keep that in mind. All right. So as we look on our map, we are starting again at Dix Creek Gap, US 76, and this is a big road here. And I remember waking up this morning very early. I think it was really about 3:45, 4 o'clock, getting everything prepped, getting outside, doing some what I call my dynamic warm-up routine. And I remember Joe, the military guy, was out. He was out getting ready to hike too. He was doing some stretches too. It's just funny what you remember. And then it's about a half-mile walk back up to the trail. And then you just start with a climb. And I remember this climb very well. It was warm that morning. The climb didn't seem too bad, but I was fresh, just coming off some town food, excited to get back on the trail. And it was dark as crap too. So I remember I was worried about bears, but I'll tell you, February, probably just a little bit too early for bears, but never hurts to be cautious. So get to the top of this little rise right here, and then you descend down into Coward Gap. Again, I remember all this very well. And then the climb starts going up to Buzzard Knob. This one was a little more brutal than this one, and you can just tell by the incline that it's going to be. And then you get to what is so common throughout the southeast is you get to the rise and you go right back down, and then sometimes it's just these little faults, peaks where you get down to Bull Gap and then you're going right back up again for a short distance that feels like eternity at times, and then back down into Plum Orchard Gap Shelter. Terrain this day, I remember, was not bad at all. And my definition of not bad at all now is totally different than it was when I started the trail, because once you get into the whites and you get into Maine especially, the trail down south there, man, if I ever do this again, it's going to be like walking on pillows the whole time, because the trail up north is definitely a lot rougher. So just keep that in mind. As you start out, you might find it rocky, rooty, but as for the through hikers, as you move farther north, you're gonna long for the days of trails like today on this day when you're hiking. And a good example of that is watch any of Greeter's videos, because he has summited Katahdin and he is on his flop. He is back down in Virginia heading southbound. And look at the trail compared when he was in Maine, and now look at it in Virginia, and it's just totally different. And he's every day commenting on how nice the trail usually is. Even though Virginia's got a lot of rocks, man, it's nothing compared to up north. So anyway, moving on. So Plum Orchard Gap Shelter. Again, this shelter holds 14 people. It's a bigger one, I remember it, and there's plenty of tenting. There was a good water source. The privy wasn't too bad. Moving on, not much here to see. Blue Ridge Gap, nothing memorable other than now this is when you are starting to climb up, and it is totally inconspicuous as you start climbing up this hill that you're about to cross the Georgia-North Carolina border. In fact, there's many times that if you're head down, you could walk right past a tree that's got the little metal pole sticking out of it, and it's got the little sign that just says Georgia, North Carolina. But what I will tell you is, that is an amazing accomplishment, because Georgia 80 or over at that point in time. Georgia's roughly 80 miles, as you can see. and they're over at that point. For those of you who walk the approach trail, Georgia's really about 91 miles. But in the end, this is just, I would just offer for anybody on a through hike or a long section hike, just take a second at that sign and pat yourself on the back and build up some positive thoughts and energy there, because you have accomplished a lot by making it to that sign, because a lot of people never even make it to see North Carolina. So pat yourself on the back, start building up that reward system for yourself of, man, I reached one of my goals. This is pretty cool. And just let that momentum push you what's about to smack you in the face, which is Courthouse, or the climb up. I think it's Sharp Top Mountain. And it doesn't say it on here, I don't think, but I say it in the video, I believe, if I remember correctly. And this is a freaking brutal climb. So you go straight up and then you hit Bly Gap. And that's Bly Gap is where that famous twisted tree is. I took a picture of it. Everybody does. It's ubiquitous in everybody's video. And then you come down a little bit, and then I'm telling you, you are staring straight up a mountain. And this isn't one with switchbacks. This is the first time where like you just go heads down and you are at like a 30-40 degree angle, and it doesn't stop until you get to the top of it. I remember being severely out of breath. I like climbing, y'all know that. So at the end, this was really rewarding for me to reach the top. But this is another example of, if you come to the trail unprepared and your body is still adapting, this thing's going to hurt you so bad that when you get to the top, you're just not going to be enjoying yourself. And I don't want that for anybody. So please do what you can to prepare yourself before you get out there so you can enjoy it. You get up to the top, there's a little bald there, and then you start descending back down. Muskrat Creek Shelter, mile 81. I ate lunch here. Again, that was a pretty nice shelter, and all the shelters down south, again, your definition of what nice is changes as you go farther north. Down south, these are really good shelters, and the farther you get up north, New York area and above, the shelters did not have, they weren't the same. And as you can see, there's already bear cables. You don't notice that there's bear cables at these shelters as they were in Georgia a lot. So keep that in mind too, of you're going to have to hang your bags a lot more yourself instead of relying on bear cables. And that holds true almost all the way up until you get into Maine, or let's say, I don't know, I can't remember where the first bear poles were, but I remember there were some in New Jersey, probably more so in Vermont, New Hampshire, and some in Maine. But really, it's going to be dependent on you to hang your own bear bag. So make sure your system's good and you know how to do it. All right, then I moved on. I remember Deep Gap right here. I had seen this in, I don't think I filmed it, but I had seen this in Kiwi's videos. And there was a there was a Lugaloo, if y'all know what I'm talking about. It's just a 5-gallon jug that's got a commode seat on there. You put a trash bag in there and you can do your business in it. And there was one sitting down in this gap when he walked by, and he said he used it. And I'm thinking it's trail magic, right? Like somebody just tends to that. That has got to be the most god-awful thing that somebody can do, is to go change that bag out. But it was still there when I got there, so I was entertained by that. I didn't use it. Luckily, whoever changes it out, I didn't have to. And then I started climbing the mountain, up Standing Indian Mountain, and I stopped at shelter that day, which was at 86 miles. So roughly another 17-mile day that day, and that was my average up until this point. So Standing Indian Shelter, very nice shelter. There is camping and stuff on top of Standing Indian Mountain, but you can see that is our first excursion over 5,000 feet. And if there's any chance of weather or wind, or if it's cold, I would suggest stopping short at Standing Indian. There's good water sources. The shelter's plenty big enough. And avoid the top of the mountain because it is kind of barren up there. This whole area right here was burned out last year during the fires. I'm sure it's growing back now. You might not even be able to tell as much. When I came through there, it was very barren in the wintertime, and that wind was whipping through there. So keep that in mind if you're caught somewhere in between. Do I go summit or do I stop short? Early riser's opinion, stop short. All right, y'all, we're going to switch over to the video. All right, y'all, here we go. Dix Creek Gap to standing in shelter. Things I want to cover a little bit today, man. Hopefully we'll get it in. If not, I'll just I'll finish up in the end. I want to talk about Georgia, the last bit of Georgia and North Carolina transition. Basically about taking the assessments at Top of Georgia Hostel on your body and fix what needs fixing before you move on. Talk a little bit about some people I met at Top of Georgia Hostel. Smiles' mom, her mom, and they had a dog with them. So a female mom and daughter with a dog. Already talked about that. Little techniques how to break up 10 to 12 hours of hiking in a day, or if it's wintertime, might get 8 in, but I tell you, 8 hours when you're not used to it is a long freaking time to be inside your head and just hiking all day. So little things I was doing to break that up and what I learned. And this is the episode where I brought in the analogy of the little devil sitting on your shoulder, the good and the bad devil, and how that little bad devil is just waiting for you to get tired and some pain to kick in and start trying to convince you that what you're doing is ridiculous. You should just go back home where it's easy. So we'll cover that a little bit. Yep, and that's it. So let's move. Early rides are back again, leaving the Top of Georgia Hostel. It's 5:09 on the 21st of February. Walking back up to the trailhead at Dix Creek Gap. They say it's 0.5. It's a little bit farther, but it's worth the walk. Sorry for this. Highly suggest it, like everybody else says. Sideways camera shot. Sir Pax-a-Lot's a really good dude. All right, so what we're talking about here is, and I'll just bring it up again, Top of Georgia Hostel. You remember I was telling you guys about when I got to Nils Gap, there's a lot of shady characters there. A lot of those people make it to Dix Creek Gap, and they come try to stay at the Top of Georgia Hostel, and some do. Sir Pax-a-Lot's the guy who owns it. He's a Triple Crowner. Just a really good dude, but a really good dude who you can tell has been burned a bunch of times because he's really cautious, and my opinion is he doesn't try to be, but now it's just getting ingrained to him that he's got to be kind of cautious as hikers come in because of these shady guys who come take advantage of a guy trying to help out hikers. So you pay $25 there. That includes those rides into town that I talked about. Pay $5 more for some laundry, and it's, in my opinion, a really good deal because it's right off the trail. But he's been burned a bunch of times. And something else that he deals with a lot, and I brought up Smiles. I think her name was Smiles. So she was probably, I don't know, I'm guessing 16 to 18 years old. Her mom and their dog had been through hiking, and it had taken them a while to get to Top of Georgia Hostel. They were moving really slow. But they had been, let's just say, being hovered by a shady hiker. As you can see here on the video. Scared the crap out of me at first. All these wild pigs. Look at all those things. I've never seen wild pigs before, honestly, and it's just a whole herd of them, or whatever you call. There's a whole mess of them. Whole grip of them. Pretty cool to see, man. Again, I thought it was a bear cub. I only saw one or two at first, and I was like, oh crap, I'm probably in between the bear cubs and her mom, but again, that was pretty cool to see. Yeah, so anyway, this shady hiker had been following them along and just kind of showing up everywhere that they would camp. He would always like hover around it. So they told that to the guy who owns the Top of Georgia Hostel, Sir Pax-a-Lot. And that guy called wanting to stay there, and Sir Pax-a-Lot wouldn't let him. And then Sir Pax-a-Lot also called into town and warned other hotels about this guy. And then he called Ford on the Trail about it as well. And, it's one of those things that Smiles and her mom and the dog left Top of Georgia the day I got there. And as I'm walking through the wood, if you look at Bigfoot's video, if you ever followed his through, I started talking about, hey, when you're hiking in the before daylight hours, don't hike with your earphones in so you can listen for animal noises, right? And I was calling out the animals you had to be aware of. And then a dog starts howling in the video, and just right on cue almost. And I think that was Smiles and her mom's dog. and they hadn't gone too far, maybe about 8 or 9 miles in that day, that they covered the day before, and they were stealth camping, and they preferred stealth camping because that guy couldn't find them as easy. Anyway, I was worried about them. I know Sir Pax-a-Lot was worried about them, so I think that formulated my opinion later on. Of people would ask me, "Hey, would you let your wife go out and through hike?" And I said, and I'm still pretty adamant that I would try to convince her not to because, man, there's just some shady folks out there. And I think every year we see that some females successfully through hike and don't have any issues. I would just say it's better to start inside the bubble as a female than to start like they did when you're out kind of by yourself and you're just more easy to target because you're the only females out there. So just keep that in mind. I don't want that to be a contingent subject on here. It's just something that
wasn't good. So I'll move
if I'm a
into
female, I would be cautious.
bagels with peanut butter and jelly. So that sounds much more appetizing. And I'll have something with it like peanut butter pretzels, something like that. Anyway, and then after lunch is my big treat, which is where I let myself listen to my headphones, my MP3 player. Definitely don't do it in the morning. Definitely don't do it at night. For the obvious reasons that you want to hear any animals, bears, whatnot, dogs. But I listen to them after lunch until I stop. So I always look forward to that. That's why.
So this is where this is what I'm learning as I'm walking the trail, and this is day 5. How do you break up such a long day of hiking? And so the plan I had, I'm a real conscientious. I like to plan everything out, much to my wife's dismay most times. There's a sign.
Georgia 80's over. You're gonna miss it. It's my home state. Love it. Entering my current state that I reside in, North Carolina. I'll be sleeping in Carolina tonight. All right, still got about 6 miles or more to go. I ain't decided yet. Already done 10, and it's 9:30. All right, y'all, out. What the day after Dix Creek Gap.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hold here for a second and finish the thought. So how do you break up 8 to 10 hours of hiking every day? And my plan was, I'll do that with how I eat food or snacks throughout the day. I'll look forward to those little ridge lines, those little goals that you're setting for yourself throughout the day. That's what I was doing, just to get a mindset going that kept me propelling forward. So I'd eat my breakfast. As I start down the trail, I'd eat a snack at a certain time, energy chews at a certain time, or right before I go up a big mountain. I'd eat my lunch, which I was thoroughly enjoying at the time then, which was now bagels, peanut butter, and jelly. And I would use if you get the generic kind of goober scrape, like at Ingles, it's in a plastic versus a glass jar, so very much more hiker friendly. And, it's all in one, peanut butter and jelly inside the jar, and I think it tastes incredible. Probably just a kid in me still, but so I would wipe that on some peanut butter and, on some bagels and loving it. And then in the afternoon, I would listen to my headphones, so that was a treat. And I'd also eat a snack later on in the afternoon and then, get into camp and have dinner. That all sounds good, but the problem is you're still in your back home food mindset at this point in the trail. Hiker hunger hadn't kicked in, but my body was burning just incredible amounts of calories a day, and I wasn't keeping up. I still felt good, but I wasn't keeping up. So this is the lesson to learn from Early Riser. You have to force calories into your body during these first few days. And so I caution everybody to think about how many miles you're going. If you're not doing 17, if you're doing 8 miles a day, then obviously you don't need as many calories, but you need more calories than you think you do. These first 5 days are the transition period for people thinking they're going to go out and eat healthy and eat, just vegetables and stuff that they can carry. The problem with that is, man, there's not enough calories in those things. So you just have to get over it and realize you're going to be eating candy bars and Pop-Tarts and things that are lightweight and have a lot of energy in them, i.e. sugar. And you just got to get over it. If you go out there with this idea that you're going to eat healthy the whole time, that's just this other mental thing that's going to be wearing you down.
Especially if you stay at Hiwassee or at the top of Georgia Hostel. Top of Georgia Hostel is at 2,400 feet.
All right, so to build off of that, yeah, you just got to get comfortable with intaking more throughout the day. So I'm saying if I could go back and do it again, and I would be eating snacks about every 2 hours, and that's what I was doing later on in the trail when I stopped losing weight, finally started actually gaining some back, and eating the right things. And that might be a giant Snickers bar. Like now they make all those double candy bars, so there was no buying a normal candy bar for me anymore. If I eat a candy bar, it was going to be a double size. Um, and I would eat 2 of those a day at some point throughout the day. And I'd eat a protein bar for a snack in the morning as well. Candy bar sometime before lunch, eat lunch, keep going, some other kind of protein snack after lunch, and then another candy bar right before dinner, and then eat at least 800 to 1,000 calories for dinner with a honey bun or 2 thrown in there somewhere, as y'all know. You have to refuel your body, or you're going to start not feeling good, and you're not going to know why. And sometimes that's going to be electrolytes as well. So you got to keep up on your electrolytes, but that'll be saved for another episode.
Tons of energy expended. Feel good. All right, so I want to quickly talk about something that's on my mind about
I'm just going to let this play for people
those moments,
see the video.
especially up front when those first few mountains start beating you down and those questions come into your mind about, is this really something you should be doing? It'd be just easier to go home and get back to what you were doing. Here's the analogy I ask you to think about, especially for all those that are coming up soon, because those thoughts are going to go through your head. I promise you. So put the analogy that we all saw growing up of the good devil and bad devil sitting on your shoulder, right? That bad devil's got a loud voice up the first 31 miles or more. And that bad devil's basically trying to convince you that what you had was good enough. That what you had made you happy. So instead of trying to ignore the bad devil, like a lot of us strategize to do, I would suggest having a conversation with that guy or girl, if it's a girl in your world, and do some planning, do some long-term planning, and plan out your future when you go back home and you fall back into the same routine you're in now. What does that look like a month from now? What does that look like a year from now? What does that look like 20 years from now? Because you're coming out to the trail. You came out to the trail, for some of you that are already on it, for a reason. You're here for a reason. The trail calls everybody for different reasons. But what the trail didn't call you to do is come out and then quit. So prepare your body. You got to prepare your mind. And those two in sync will keep that little devil, that little bad devil, quiet. And let the good little devil keep whispering in your ear to keep pushing north. Keep pushing north.
All right, y'all. So to me, that was a defining moment in my through hike. And I would argue, hopefully, people can see the message behind that, even though I would convey it a little bit differently today. I would refrain how I said that to, if you start having thoughts of quitting, like you got to ask yourself, why can't you be happy in that moment? What is it that's making you unhappy? Because happiness is a choice. And science has proven it stronger and stronger every day. I research positive performance and happiness and how it relates to performance on a daily basis. I'm reading. I just got done with a book called The Happiness Advantage. Just a great book. But why can't you be happy? And what's making you unhappy? And you need to confront it. And I've had some people on the trail tell me, hey, I don't like to think about those. I just want to think positive. I don't want to think about all that other stuff. Well, I tell you, if you read any research around happiness and performance, You know, fear
take care of the feet.
fear
So,
derails us faster than
all right,
anything.
y'all. Hope all's
And
well.
what we know about psychology and what
Hey, know everybody in
psychology
neighborhood,
has
please
taught
wrap
us
up before
over
6.
the last few decades, I'm sorry, the last few centuries, if you will, especially the last century, is that those things are going to come calling. Um, I think one thing that I have taken away from the research I've read over the past few years is we only have so much energy to resist things. Just like if you're trying to quit cigarettes or you're trying to quit drinking coffee or something, that takes a lot of energy to sustain those efforts. And then once you get physically tired, i.e., hiking a trail, uh, it's a lot harder to not do those activities because you were just totally out of energy by the end of the day. So when we suppress those, then that's leading up to this. So when we repress those fears and those things that are making us question whether we should be there, and we just keep pushing on and we don't address them, i.e., when that little devil's telling us we should just go home and we just suppress it, it's going to come calling. And the problem is it comes calling when you don't have the ability to suppress it anymore, when you're just wore out, you don't have the energy to stop those thoughts coming up, and then they take over, and that becomes your reality. So my point here is it is better to have a conversation with yourself while you have the energy, and so you can think rationally through, you know what, I came out here for a reason and it wasn't quitting, and talk through that with yourself before it starts raining, before you get to the end of a long day, before you lose the ability to rationally think through it, and then you make an irrational decision. The next thing you know, you're on a plane going back home. So just keep that in mind. If this one video in this week, if there's any takeaway from it, man, that's the one, because I want everybody who starts that trail with a goal of Katahdin to stand on top of that mountain and kiss that sign, because it
It's
is
Tuesday,
a
February
feeling.
21st.
And I've done a lot of things in my life, but I've never
At
done anything that felt like that
probably towards the
on a
hot spot of
personal level,
04.
minus the birth of my son
Felt
and me
pretty
getting
good.
married to my
Slept for about
wife.
5.5, 6
Like
hours. Didn't go to bed
nothing
until
comes
9:08.
close. So keep that in mind. I
Left
want you to
out
be
there about
successful.
5:15. Walked up to about the mile
So
or
now
the
I'm an
half
Indian
mile up
Gap
to the
shelter.
trailhead and started pressing north. It was a good day. It was a rough day. Getting to North Carolina was really cool, and everything everybody has said that I've heard in all these videos prior was true. Georgia teaches you something about ass kicking. You think you know a little bit about that ass kicking. North Carolina just breaks it down to ass kicking 101 and kicks your ass right up front. But in the end, I like that. That's okay. I'm trying to protect the phone from the wind.
All right, y'all. So you can see my bear bag hanging.
So yeah, I did 17 here.
It's hanging from this tree right
Horrendous
here,
climbs.
that limb. So if you look at that, it
The
is about
last 2
12 feet off
miles
the
to the
ground, and it's
shelter
way over 4 feet away from any tree.
found a
So
deep gap, a lot of rocks,
I see, and I hear it in everybody else's through hikes videos.
and then walking over those rocks
You'll
and
walk
twisting my
past somebody
ankle.
stealth camping, and their
It was
freaking bear
painful.
bag is about 3 feet
Felt
off the
bad for
ground,
everybody
and
today. I
it's
was
just hanging in between a fork in a tree, just touching the tree. It's ridiculous. But really, you're just inviting. I would rather have it in my tent than have it there, because maybe my tent's going to suppress some of those smells a little bit more.
my buddy
But
Joe was
yeah,
in
the bear
Charlotte,
bag
so
was
I'm gonna have to
sitting
stop short.
right by their tent.
Maybe getting here in a little while.
A 3-year-old could have reached up and
Man,
grabbed the
what
thing almost.
a
So,
day.
man, it's important to
What
understand
time is it
how to
out,
do the
y'all?
bear bag right. This thing's hung PCT style. I know you can't see it from here, but
For those coming up
um,
behind us,
that allows, if the bear gets to
the
your
gut hooks
rope or
app
whatever
versus the
and the
guidebook.
bag falls,
These
there's a
weak
stick that's
hooks,
going to protect it
everybody
from
use
falling any
both.
farther. So
And the answer is
if you
yes.
don't know how to hang it PCT style, check it out, because it's
I do
important
use
to know
both.
before you get out on the trail.
Like I'll go look
There
at
are
the
plenty of
guide tonight.
videos out
Get
on
a
YouTube right now where
grand
it'll teach you
strategy
how
for
to do it
tomorrow.
PCT style.
But when I'm walking, man, the guide stays in my pack and the phone stays in my pocket, my leg, where I can get to it. And I turn on Gut Hooks app probably 20 times or more during a long movement. It's really good. It has all the water spots. It has recent activity around that water spot from people up above, or that have just come through a week or two ago. It helps you strategize your water a lot better than the guidebook does. And your phone, whether it has reception or an airplane mode or whatever, it doesn't matter. GPS will still work. It'll plot you right down on where you are at on the trail too, so that helps. And mentally that also hurts sometimes when it plops down and you're like, crap, I got a lot farther than I thought. Anyway, Guthooks app, it costs like 69 bucks for all the maps. Wouldn't trade it for anything right now. It's working really good. And we'll end the week off with this thought, and I've talked about it a lot on my hike, and this is something everybody has to make a decision about. Do I just get the AT guide? Do I get Guthooks? Do I use one or the other only, or do I get both? My answer is both. Guthooks is expensive. 69 bucks for the full Monty of all the maps. I think that's a motivational tool, if you will. I bought all the maps up front. I don't want to buy them one at a time because that gives me well, at least I didn't buy the map, so if I quit, then I'm okay. Buy all the maps. It's amazing how that little 69 bucks is just this little motivator for you to say, oh man, I don't want to waste those other $42 that I spent on the maps up north, so I'm going to keep going just so I didn't waste that money. That seems ridiculous, but it's small little motivational goals like that that push us sometimes through those weak moments when that bad little devil's got our ear. All right, I'm going to switch over to the camera. All right, y'all, we'll finish the week off. So like I was saying, AT Guide is good. They make one of these for northbound and southbound. But Guthooks app is a game changer when you're walking. Again, no matter if you're in airplane mode or you don't have any reception whatsoever, you're not touching any towers, still doesn't matter. The GPS works. So everybody asks, hey, should I carry a GPS? If you got a smartphone, you don't need your GPS because it's got the GPS in it. So really, you want to talk about taking a dead piece of weight. A GPS, a separate GPS is a dead piece of weight on the trail, in Early Riser's opinion. Yeah, so Guthooks, 69 bucks. I would reduce another critical piece of kit by 69 bucks to make sure I could take Guthooks out there. That's how important it was to me. When it's time to find water sources, or if I'm in a stealth camp, to read the comments on people that went before me, critical, man. You can't beat it. That's what the guidebook doesn't provide you, is all those comments from people that went before. So keep that in mind. There's no way I would, if I go do the PCT, I will have Guthooks because they have that app for the PCT as well. I will never be without Guthooks, promise you that. I think that's about it for the week. Hopefully, hopefully this is worthwhile. It is to me, just to relive it. I love talking about these things and getting to talk about things that I didn't talk about on the way through, that I was thinking during the day, or that I've reflected on and wish I would have said during the videos. So again, if you're planning a through hike, hopefully these will be as invaluable for you as I think they can be. But I would just say, hey, keep asking me questions and let me try to answer those. And I'm going to do a separate questioning and answering session today at some point and post that as well. All right, y'all. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. And then Matrix Monday kicks off tomorrow, but let's not think about it yet. And let's just be present and enjoy the rest of the day. All right, y'all. Deuces.